Come down, sweet reverend, until my simple heart sound rain. Stones with the stars, with the whole sky fell. Now I'm covered up in strawberry up on a table. Well, I drank and sang and passed in the stable. Tall grass grows high and brown. Well, I drag you straight in the muddy ground, and you send me back to where I roam. Well, I cursed and I cried, but now I know. Oh, now I know. And I ached from my heart like something there when it came
Let me see. Get started here in just a second, folks. Ooh, shakalaka. Alrighty, folks. I have a little video to share before we get on.
Truth is not what you want it to be. It is what it is, and you must bend to its power or live a lie. There is nothing outside of yourself that can ever enable you to get better, stronger, richer, quicker, or smarter. Everything is within. Everything exists. Seek nothing outside of yourself. Aspire to be like Mount Fuji, with such a broad and solid foundation that the strongest earthquake cannot move you, and so tall that the greatest enterprises of common men seem insignificant from your lofty perspective. With your mind as high as Mount Fuji, you can see all things clearly, and you can see all the forces that shape events, not just the things happening near you. You must understand that there is more than one path to the top of the mountain. It is difficult to understand the universe if you only study one planet. Perception is strong and sight is weak. In strategy, it is important to see distant things as if they were close, and to take a distanced view of close things. The true science of martial arts means practicing them in such a way that they will be useful at any time, and to teach them in such a way that they will be useful in all things. Both in fighting and in everyday life, you should be determined through calm. Meet the situation without tenseness, yet not recklessly. Your spirit settled, yet unbiased. Even when your spirit is calm, do not let your body relax. And when your body is relaxed, do not let your spirit slacken. Do not let your spirit be influenced by your body, or your body be influenced by your spirit. A man cannot understand the art he is studying if he only looks for the end result without taking the time to delve deeply into the reason of the study. Study strategy over the years, and achieve the spirit of the warrior. Today is victory over yourself of yesterday. Tomorrow is your victory over lesser men. Generally speaking, the way of the warrior is resolute acceptance of death. Think lightly of yourself and deeply of the world. Resentment and complaint are appropriate neither for oneself nor others.
Alrighty, folks. We are in need of light. 1 second. Any better? Nope. So, hello everyone. With us today. Yes. So really the whole function of today's chat is inspired by some stimulative thought from morning conversations that I've had today. When we are proposed by a idea, what is it about that idea that makes us think? Is it more so the conflicts within ourselves, or is it more so how we choose to see that idea and where it comes from? Yes, it's probably going to be a little bit of a ramble episode, so yeah, appreciate it, Brandon. Rugops, glad to see you. Dan, glad you're here. Enlighten me a little bit about what you mean you were trying to say from before. Yeah. Also, this episode is probably going to be more so like a little bit of interactive and Q&A a little bit. Can everyone hear me well? Hope so. I apologize if I seem a little sporadic. I have like 5 different devices going at the moment, or outlets, I should say. I'm gonna read a little tidbit of some musings. Let's see. All right, so in a kind of existential thought, let's take a man who toils to gain that which was never given, and upon such triumph turns to those less fortunate to help enable their rise. However, once to status, one such man turns to push the former back into recession, who then curses his predicament. So, who then would be the worse for wear? Whose such circumstances would be right in their cause? Now, I merely want to give a notion of that kind of thought. Like, so when we see these various outlets of knowledge, and since the internet and everything, I mean, everything is accessible to a degree. And where is it that we can safely say we have reached a point of gainful knowledge? So yeah, like I said, a little bit of Q&A. If anyone really wants to join the live, I'm about to put the link for Discord, and I will send the Zoom chat for that. So yes. Gaines, what's up, brother? Glad you're here. Glad you're here. I am. Let me type this down. So, I have times where I can type masterfully, and then times where I cannot. Right, that should work. So yes, that is the Discord. Feel free to join that. Either or. All right, so moving forward with all that. When we look towards knowledge itself, what is it that we are really seeking? Like, when we have a thirst for knowledge, are we then seeking something that we already have, or seeking something that we wish to gain? Thoughts on crystal skulls? They're not of this world. I feel like that is consciousness that is both ascended and descended all at once. And what I mean by that is, y'all have heard me talk about my hypothesis on different dimensional transcendence and how we ourselves are beings of greater means and greater potential from a higher dimension. I would surmount that the crystal skulls themselves are of that higher dimension, a pure consciousness that is only manifested here in that crystalline form. So when if anyone's ever been around them, it's said they'll start hearing voices, have a spiritual journey. I mean, all kinds of things like that. So I would not be indifferent to the idea that they are of some kind of crystalline consciousness themselves and have been manifested here for hopefully our gain. I'll take these off. I keep seeing a double reflection. Are angels not in, or yeah, are angels not alien themselves? And the truest form of what we would say humanity, is it not also alien and angelic? So, really, all of the above. So, where I assume this consciousness actually came from before it was manifested in a crystalline structure would be not of the angelic realm, yet of angelic predisposition, and also alien in nature of how we assume them to be, and then also in its pure sense more human than we give it credit for. Them for. Yeah, there's more than one. Yeah. Well, thank you, Dan. We'll get that might be a whole nother tangent for today. We'll see. All right. So really, the reason why I was coming back today is that Marty, he woke me up. I really think it would be scary. And yes, I would also probably surmount that the consciousness altogether would maybe create a new arc of the covenant. Yeah, so yeah, it very, very well could be. I would assume also that a combination of what created the skulls also created that arc. Yeah, I'll kind of leave it at that for a second. Sorry if I'm like all up in the camera too. I did take my glasses off, so I have to squint and get close to read. Now about the crystal skulls that you'll find in the shops. I would really be, I'm not gonna say wary. I would be cautious of the skulls that you'll find in the store. I actually have a wood carving skull that's would be more occultic, and I'm wary of it. It's in my possession, so Would I sell my eyes? Hmm. Technically, our eyeball is a organic construct of what this world is. And yeah, I mean, actually, you're laying it out there. I mean, I would definitely say, the true crystal skulls are very powerful and could be, um, yeah. So, I mean, I love y'all in the chat. This is awesome. Y'all are like, oh, yes, cool. Uh, do y'all's best to keep me on one tangent though, because I'll never finish one. Um, with the crystal skulls themselves, I would say they are pure consciousness transcended above what we think our consciousness can and will be. And then it must have descended to this realm. So I'm getting there into a crystalline structure, and that's the only reason why it was able to manifest here. I would surmount it to be one of those dimensional constants. A crystalline structure is that which can transcend and descend without deteriorating. That'll be a point for later. Now, the ones in the shops, I would surmount them to be potent in the guise of potency. Basically, what I mean is, depending on the intent that they were created and the intent and energy that they've absorbed while being in that store. See, that's what you got to be iffy about certain crystal shops. More or not, unless it's like a true metaphysical shop with practitioners and everything, you would then need to cleanse all those things. More often than not, they are being cleansed throughout the day by the people that work there and all that stuff. So when we buy those objects, it is good to attune them to yourself and then also cleanse them and then reattune them. Especially the manufactured crystal skulls that are in those shops. Because not only do they attune and contain that energetic field, they can, in a way, I'm not going to say trap consciousness, but influence consciousness. So just be wary of that. All right, so let's see. All right. I love it. I love it. So, taking back Eden, he was Jesus Christ parables beforehand, and I love everything you're saying, bro. The ark itself, yes. The construct that was built around it, no. What is it used for? Opening the pathway for Christ-like consciousness. And yep. Man. y'all check out what he's just saying in the chat. That's wonderful. That's beautiful stuff. And I did know that it is able to regenerate. So on the same topic, what's wild is from Taking Back Eden. Did you know, or do you know, the only man-made thing in heaven, and it would be Eve. So that's one of those other little things. That's a little tidbit I've always thought was funny. Yeah, I lost my chat. I'm gonna do this 1 second, folks. Let me mitigate my windows real quick. Cool. Yay. All right. So when we when discussing all right, we got a couple of different questions. So let me see if I can chop it up a little bit. Now, the arc still being here, I would definitely say it is. Now, when we are discussing the arc itself, it was godly presence that was manifested in light, and that light had to be contained by something. Now, over time, I really believe that light itself was developed its own construct. That way, it would not need the box to stay manifested here. And when I kind of think on that, I would not doubt that that is something that stays constant here, even now. Now, as to the Holy of Holies being able to open it, at the time, of course, being said that, look at it as dimensional travel. Why were they burned, and why were they like thrown forth thus and all of that? This was something manifested from 7th or 8th, maybe even higher dimension. Its sheer presence would not be able to make contact with three-dimensional creatures. And the reason why I'm saying that is, even unless you were like an ascended master or attuned to the proper vibrations, that light would burn you instead of go through you. And now through you, I mean like radiate with you. You would be on the same vibrational frequency, and that way you would be attuned and not be able to basically take the brush of it. Now, if you weren't attuned and you went to touch it, just getting close to it, I mean, so think of a truly spiritual person in your life and walking into a room. Say you walk into a room, there's like a heaviness there, and you can kind of feel the energies. And then this really spiritual person walks in, and you know they're there, and there's a certain flow to the vibe now that's starting to shift and change. Think like that. It's being towards that. The Dead Sea Scrolls were found by some 2 teenage shepherds, and whatchamacallit, they were leading their goats and stuff along the mountain ridges and ended up throwing rocks into a cave and heard clay pots shatter. That's when they went in and found it. Now, this was close to night and it got cold. They ended up actually burning quite a few of the Dead Sea Scrolls just to keep warm. And then they took the rest home to their farm, and their father's the one that kind of realized something was amiss about them. And that's kind of where they were introduced to the world. Now, yeah, there was the story that there were a few that he was not able to touch, like to the touch. It had to be something that like burned him, but it didn't really burn him. Think of those little candy weird things. It's like shot gum. You pull on the tab and it just vibrates so fast that it feels like it shocked you with electricity. Same thing. If you went to touch these scrolls, they were vibrating. Like the mysticism and spiritual essence that is imbued on that piece of paper was stronger than what he could attune to at the time. So it literally vibrated against him. Now, Eden, there's more than one. What we perceive as Eden is the Arcturian establishments for experiments and Scientology from a higher dimension to be able for them to live on this plane, if that makes sense. Yep. All right, so Dan's got it. He's saying, think of it like this: the planet is alive and all life is fungi. Universes are alive when a cell is exposed to radiation. And what happens? Why would Babylon make nuke-powered Earth? Yeah, I mean, so all right, I like what you said there too, Eden. I believe heaven is a trinity of light. Light lumens, light weight, and light as in emotions. Extreme heavy emotions or attachment to earthly items may physically prevent someone reaching heaven. This is very, very true. Now we've gone to ancient civilizations and we've seen huge structures of highly technological feats, like in not Machu Picchu, but it's the Mayan construct, that ancient spaceport. It has a river of mercury below it. Well, their power source for many different technologies was mercury. This was also found in Atlantis, also in Ethiopia, also in the Mesopotamian Peninsula area. All right, so back to the whole Eden thing. Yeah, I would definitely believe a garden was in Ethiopia. There's massive amounts of hidden knowledge from Ethiopia, and it doesn't really get talked about. So find the Ethiopian Bible, and you'll be on some stuff there, man. It's wild. So as far as the Dead Sea, why it's so much salt, I really don't have a reasonable enough answer. Really, I would. Only thing I really could say to the sea and why there's so much salt is that there was a megalithic structure there at one time, possibly, and through not just nuclear what we would consider nuclear blast and radiation, but also tidal movement clashing. The opposing forces would have decimated those structures, and the water that receded just lay dormant. And in that dormancy, so much salt that had been left over from the rocks and structures themselves made the sea. So I don't know. It's kind of a layman way to put it, I suppose. That's a little out of my depth at the moment. Let me see. Very well could have been the city of sin, but which city? There's been multiple civilizations that have Sodom and Gomorrah. That's very, very possible. I'm really not sure. They were stricken down, so a bolt of lightning would make salt. In a way, I suppose, if it strikes sand, it makes glass, and sand and salt are almost kind of the same in a way. I don't know. I really don't. Like I said, that's a little bit out of my depth at the moment. I'll have to do some digging on that for you. So, let's see. Back to, let's see. I like what y'all got going on in the chat. You know, it's even it's funny you say that. Many many a times when there are those moments of being stricken down, prayers will be spoken in droves. Like, it's funny, I used to hear a military saying that there's no such thing as an atheist in a foxhole, because when bullets start flying and you have to fight, you will be praying to God. I really do believe that. It is in the face of terror and in the face of abhorrent adversary that seems insurmountable that you will find God and pray. So, in a way, yeah, I would say that, yeah, many of them probably were asking to be saved when it was past that point. Much as the folks with the Great Flood, moving in and just watching the earth wash away. Yeah, it'd be rough. All right, so we got another 2 questions. The Holy Grail being in good hands. Now, I have my own ideas of what the Grail is. I honestly believe it is the bloodline. But my answer to the question is the same. No, I do not still think it's in good hands. I'll define good hands. Someone who has the means and capabilities of doing greater good for humanity as a whole, the guise of greater good has been used for nefarious means for centuries, eons even. So, what then are we able to? I don't know. So, yeah. Dan, what you mean? Finding on Mars. Go ahead and send that out. But yeah, so for the Holy Grail itself, I believe the Grail is a sign of the Christ consciousness that was manifested and passed down. I really do believe that it is also one of those things that, just as any other human, can be corrupted. Because at that point, being a bloodline, there is that way where that bloodline can be I don't want to say stained. I would rather surmount it to a idea that feeling all powerful or some such. I would then propose the idea that being within that bloodline is something that we technically all share. Now, what I mean is that we are all connected to that source and we all have that potential. And it is that potential and that source that has been stripped from us due to nefarious means by whoever, whenever and however. I do not get down with the Ouija board, Roma. Cats. See? Yeah. Yeah, so for Roma's question, no, I do not condone using Ouija boards for the main fact that that's opening a door to things that are not understood. I would also say that you don't necessarily know who is speaking. Also, I would be very, very cautious. If you really just want to open that door, you don't need a board to do so. Now, with y'all talking about that old reactor, it might be one of the same that I'm familiar with, and that would be from ancient Sumerian text where the Anunnaki were prevalent. The whatchamacallit, we have a possibility of, not possibility, but so what I was meaning about the multiple Edens earlier, that was of Palladian and Arcturian manufacture. From that, Anunnaki are the ones that kind of used it for their own means. Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah. So when we know the story through Sumerian text and also pre-Babylonian text that the Anunnaki were mainly of three houses, and really they were of the same house but made three clans, and it was two brothers that were really the bickering feud with the sister as so-called Holy Mother. Mesopotamia, Africa, and China were under the, wouldn't call him evil brother, but I would say more like the quick to anger brother. And the more scientific and tolerable brother had the Western world. There's about 4 of them in, like, 2 in Central America and 2 in South America. Yes, Roma, I'll join the Discord. So Gaines brought up a good point too, that so yeah, all right, cool. Y'all got me on several topics again. A little all over the place. Where were we? With that whole reactor thing. Yes, that was an Anunnaki construct and was passed down through Sumerian knowledge. And y'all are right, it was about 450,000 years old. That is right around the time when Sumerian knowledge was expanding. They did have one in Egypt that's below the pyramids. Ooh, excellent question. Excellent question, Stoner Chick. Yes, the only reason why, like that whole XE23 and Ancestry, all of that is to link bloodlines. Now, bloodlines are specifically important to a nefarious group and also to that Christ-like consciousness. You're all good. But excellent question. The reason why they're tracking down ancestries and stuff is to hone in on particular bloodlines. Man, it's deep. So that'll be a whole another topic for another day. But yeah, excellent question, Stoner Che. That's what's up. Back to the reactor thing. Yes, the Babylons. Another reason why it said like the Tower of Babel fell was not because they were reaching God at the time. They were trying to reach Saturn, and it's I don't know, that's a whole deep rabbit hole as well. And to do so, to actually manufacture and construct a true enough tower and basically portal that could connect the 2 hemispheres, basically, because at this time Saturn was not far from our area. Like, this, I really believe this is where Tiamat came into picture. Like, that's where we were beforehand. And that was not far between Jupiter and Saturn. I would then say that it is due to that we have so much scarring on Earth that we are inhabiting now, because that weapon / reactor did blow up. And that's what really in the Sumerian text with the Tiamat and all that, that's what is to believe to make our little asteroid belt we have between Mars and Jupiter. It would take a planet of significant size to make that as well. And then if you look back at even biblical text, it was it can be interpreted that Earth itself is a piece of that planet due to having to contain the waters of the earth and the waters of the heavens and bringing them together. And then if we look like at the Mariana Trench, I have no doubts in my mind that is a deep scar to this world. Now, I've said it a few times that we live on a fucked up snow globe. If you look at old Gnostic texts, old Judaism texts, what they conceived the world to be looks like a fucked up snow globe that's almost like a pulled tooth. The roots and everything, and then the hollow cavities, and then if you rip out a molar or something, it's going to have those deep roots. That would be like the pillars of the earth, and there's the hollow cavity, and then there's the enamel and the outside shell, and then the actual land that's on top. So, yeah, I don't know. But Eden was kind of pointing that out earlier. It's really magnificent that our realm is emblematical to different facets of our organic body. I appreciate it, Eden. Get back to what you're doing. Stay safe. So yeah, can't remember which topic we were on, not to begin with, but we were on a few that I don't think I finished. I remember seeing with the Ouija boards, yeah. But like I said, you don't necessarily need one of those for contact of that sort. I would also say that using those improperly is a good in a situation that's not the best. Yeah, I'll leave it at that, because even really speaking on such things is a doorway that can be opened. Like certain entities that we know are around or have been around, even speaking on them will cause for unfortunate things. Yeah. Really, all right, so reason why we got today's thing going. Yeah, so Roma, I would say that you need to properly close that. If you did, well, evil or not, it's one that shouldn't be here, so to speak. I mean, it's very well, it could be something that already is here, and you just allowed it to manifest and speak. Also, I'm looking at the idea that improperly using such devices will allow for other things to come. That's what I'm saying. Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be what you've encountered. It can be something that you had no intention of being there, encountering, or whatever. That's why I don't even recommend using them. Yeah, so, and there's a lot of things that, want to be manifested and want that door to be open. Yeah. So, yeah. Um, yeah, Gaines has got it right. We'll get into that in just a minute as well, Gaines. So like, whenever you practice such things, you should always invoke. Well, I mean, regardless of the goodness out there, I've delved in several things of such nature. That's why I'm saying be cautious. The reason why is you don't necessarily need a uh, damn, trying to think, a catalyst. There we go. You don't need a catalyst for those doorways. I mean, you have the keys to that within here and here, anyways. Um, so, like, when we allow for a physical catalyst or a physical doorway, a lot of times you are susceptible to leaving that doorway open. And I totally agree with you. If you're in positive vibrations and you got goodness on your side, good things can happen. Um, yep. Though there is that old adage that good intentions lead the pathway to hell. And in a way, I would kind of condone that just because there's been a many of things that start righteous but end up far from it. I agree. I agree that you can connect different. It is a multi-dimensional board. I'm just. I think there's too much out there that. Yeah, for sure. Look out for things that feed your ego and act angelic because many of the fallen were already angelic. So many of nefarious and negative entities throughout the multiverse came from goodness. We all came from that goodness. We are all aspects of that goodness. The Seth books. I got you. Um, yeah. I mean, I'm not judging. I'm not preaching. I'm just saying, be careful, be cautious. And it's not even about a choice either, Dan. Really, it's more so being in the presence. And not present as in this moment, but the presence of where you wish to be. And like Gaines was saying, even with remote viewing, astral travel, it is the presence that you seek and the presence that you are in that sometimes aren't always in line with each other. And not being in line will cause a skew in the travel itself. I mean, like I said, I'm not harping on you at all. Whatever practices or anything, see, especially I'm not one to judge either because I've got my fair share of things I probably shouldn't. So, uh, yeah, I mean, power to you for sure. I haven't heard of the Seth Books, but I'll check them out. Uh, yeah, shoot what you got, and then what you call it? Yeah, I was gonna actually talk a good bit about that. The skies, how they're all cattywampus. It's starts me to think we are on the great Atuan. uh, yep, yep. Gaines has got it pretty good. Honestly, it is stepping stones. I say that many times. Stepping stones to a lot of things. And we should not be scornful of stepping stones as if they don't matter. And all good things, we should be cautious even how we obtain them. Just because we think it is a good avenue, once we get there, how have we changed? And it kind of goes back to the little adage. I don't know if you heard it, but take the man who tolls to gain that which was never given. Hold on 1 second. And then turns back to help those less fortunate and enable their rise. However, once the status one such man turns to push the former back into recession, he then curses his predicament. Who then would be the worse for wear, and whose such circumstances would be right in their cause? So, yeah. Once we get to somewhere we seek, is it all that we wish it was that we were seeking? That's basically what I'm getting at. Is even though we can make contact with certain things, what's contacting us? And just keep your wits about you on that. That's all I'm getting at. I know I'm rambling. I know I'm kind of preaching now, but I don't mean to. Most definitely. I like what y'all got going on in the chat. Well, really the biggest means for today was I got to wake up and have quite a stimulating conversation on multiple avenues. It was wild. It really started off with like how things have been kept from us and why is knowledge so coveted and hidden? Occultic things, ancient knowledge. Why is it called a cult? And it's become almost a stigma that even such terms are now evil, like the Ouija board. I apologize for my caution towards it. It's honestly because, it's been indoctrinated that it is an evil thing. I don't believe it's an evil thing. I believe that we are what we perceive things to be. So if we're constantly told something is evil and then one day we kind of start to not dabble, but start to kind of wonder more about it, we then ourselves feel like we're doing something evil. That changes your destination and what you seek. So that's why I would really say not just caution, but an open-mindedness as well. And not being so strict into how you perceive things. When we also are looking towards knowledge, let's just look at society as it is. When we look to what is now ancient or what we perceive as ancient, almost covered up, like Latin, ancient Greek. These being the cornerstone of human civilization and knowledge and power, because that's technically what knowledge is. So honestly, it's almost a given to why they want to hide it. Particularly Latin in itself, because it gets to a more centralized root of knowing, like where it came from is a little bit different from what we're taught or what we perceive it as. The same thing with ancient Greek. It was around that time where such of these kind of conversations started becoming more prevalent, and it changed the scope of thought, of discussion, of how we function as society. And that was just a few thousand years ago. So, in that little bit of time, how drastic the change has been is mind boggling to me, for the fact that more of society has become that man that was helped to rise, that ends up stabbing in the back and pushing back down into the hole of povertous knowledge. So, like the allegory of the cave, let's take that as a little analogy. For the man that comes and tries to pull the others from the shadows, and then is accosted because he sounds crazy. And then finally he does pull somebody from the shadows. All good things. Well, that man that he pulled from the shadows, he turns around and pushes him back in the cave, so that he just sounds crazy to the rest of them, and the one that was saved now profits thereby. And it's really a shame, because that is a massive majority mentality, that we should profit off of the knowledge that is given and learn, instead of teach and offer it. And I really believe that goes against the purpose of consciousness in a whole. It gains back to your previous question with the ark itself. Divine knowledge incarnate, and it was built into a construct. Why would they put something that powerful and that knowledgeable covered up in a construct? To contain it, to keep it more so away from society? Sure. Another avenue of thought would be that when we are in our current predicament as a whole now, I more often see that it is through disinformation and misinterpretation that we, not saying we in this chat or we as just society, but just in a moralistic sense of human nature, we're easily swayed to gilded words. And that honestly, to me, kind of seems like the Ark of the Covenant in itself. Taking divine, esoteric knowledge, hidden knowledge, occulted knowledge, whatever you wish to call it, things that would offer us profitable gain and just livelihood, not in monetary value or economic standing. I mean, just in our soul and our minds and our consciousness, things that would help us is wrapped up in a box right now. And that box is this computer that we think is so highly advanced. I don't know. I just feel like not only is it our purpose to be here and grow, learn, and evolve, but to leave behind what caused our evolution, not to covet it and keep it hidden away in some library up top. So I don't know, like we've discussed many things on this channel, other channels. I've spoke on the Akashic records a few times, and why is it something that is not really talked about? Why is it something that is coveted? Why is that something that must be pushed forth on the intrinsic few that are able to master a certain kind of meditation? I don't think that's a good thing. It's probably going to happen tomorrow, Gaines. It wouldn't be the first time. They've opened a few. Every time they smash atoms together, they alter the fluctuations in this reality. They've recorded geomagnetic hurricanes and storms in the middle of land. Like it's really not supposed to be possible, but because they keep doing some fuckery shit over there, it is now possible. Now, CERN is not a standalone entity. It is part of a bigger technological map. And that can be a whole nother day, honestly, of talking. But they never really technically switched it off either. They keep it running. They just don't implement its use. I'm sending someone in, so I didn't know about that bit, but this wouldn't be the first time something like that happened. That's actually how we colonized the celestial bodies. That happened back in like the 30s. Well, start of the 30s was when the technology was being talked about. 40s-ish after World War is when they really did a lot. Yeah, I have no doubt they are doing some wild stuff. Now, I was just about to say it's some Stranger Things, Pacific Rim kind of stuff. CERN is concerning. Yes, it is. So I look at CERN as a child playing with a Ouija board. Since we're kind of hopping topics there. Yeah. Is there some good possibilities from their research? Of course. Yeah. I knew about it. Yeah. That's what I was saying. It's one piece of a technological map. It's not, yeah. Good call, bro. Uh, when that'll be some research for some off time though. So sending someone through the rip. I hope they have a rope tied. I really hope they have a rope attached. Um, yeah, I'm almost weary to believe that the one over there in the islands is what unearthed that megalithic city that's off the coast there, because it was underneath buku of sand. Now it's very, very prevalent. A winch and a rope, yes, yes. uh, yeah, that's also why the big wigs of American technology moved down there, Roma. It's yeah, like you brought that up, Gaines. That's wicked. Didn't think we were going there today, but hey, I never know where my channel's ever going. So, yeah, let's see. I almost had a structure for this. I promise I did, but yeah. Um, when does that ever work for me? Let me see. Awesome, I got a Marcus Aurelius quote for y'all. Think of the universal substance, of which thou hast very small portion, of the universal time, of which a short and indivisible interval has been assigned to thee, and of which is fixed by destiny, and how small a part of it thou art. It's more a little bit melancholy, but hey, just think, the reason why I actually say that is that itself should show us how powerful in a grand scheme of things we can be. We are living in some special times. It really is. The channel is like everywhere. That's where it's supposed to be. So Stargate. There's 12 of them, and yes, I will say yes to both of those because technically it's underneath them and bigger than what you think. And it's not what the 90s portrayed them as. Very, very similar, however, very, very similar. It's more so in itself a megalithic structure. So, Gaines, you did a remote view of Stonehenge on your intro video. Stonehenge was a druidic stargate. And, we know of sordid. Possibly Gaines. But yeah, so what I mean by druidic stargate is that some of our more so ancient and ethereal cultures that we've had, like from Scotland and Ireland and that part of the world, the Celts themselves were descended from the Tuatha De Danann. And those were basically what the Greeks would surmount to demigods, and they were able to hot places, let's say, and Stonehenge was a veritable teleporting pad, if you will. And yeah, so little tidbit there. Then it was just used as ritualistic ceremonies, other things, worship, stuff like that. But it's pretty old. Yeah, old. Do I think it was being protected? No. And yes, in a way. These stargates have been known about for some time to the space age community. I believe, in the sense that you're asking, Gaines, he was protecting monetary value that he felt was rightfully his. Not just for the natural resources, but for the ethereal travel resources. Yeah, we'll leave it at that. Yeah, yeah, there are 12 of them. Yeah, 12. And the Lapawa Indians. I don't know. Corey on the Phoenix and them probably could expound on that a little bit. But the Grand Canyon Indians had access to one of them. Yeah, I think that's right. Yep. We also know of two main ones. That's the North and South Pole. All right. Well, since we're on this, y'all know of the ley lines. I know y'all do. Where they intersect and consolidate. We know them as like vortexes, portals, stuff like that. All right, so Tricky, as we were saying beforehand, how would they be powered? All right, well, back when, I think it's Montezuma. Yeah, that's what it was. All right, so Montezuma. No, not Montezuma. That was a person. My bad. Shit. I'm all scrambled now. Yeah, so ley line grid activation, yep, where they intersect and converge in more than one, so like not just a crossing, allows for vortexes and allows for portals, like the Stardust Ranch or whatever. I think it's been talked about on Nick's channel a while back. Yeah, so it is one of those places. That's also kind of out there near the Grand Canyon. Yes, you got it. So eventually, yes, the Stargate is a vortex. The actual technologically sourced one, I would say, and what Tricky's asking about how they're powered would be the ones that are deep underground, and they were one is surrounded by ley line activations, yes, but also the technology itself takes a bukudos amount of like mercury, uranium, things that we would call nuclear devices. But if you look in some of these ancient civilization pyramidal structures, they all have a few key elements and substances that we wonder why the hell they're there. And well, that's why they are a power source for the technology that helps activate these things. Yes, where you meet your spirit guides is also a vortex. Now, Roma, I don't know how long you've been with me. Well, see, the whole gravity thing is a three-dimensional construct in itself, and it is non-existent past a fourth dimensional aspect. It is the convergence of third and fourth dimensional space and time that allows for gravity to even exist. And those are remedial constructs at best to our consciousness. So when I doing what I understand, yes, the pyramids are perpendicular and on parallels to all of our ley lines. It started with China, then whatchamacallit. I mean, gravity field, ley lines, geomagnetic source field, that they're basically all the same in different aspects of how we are able to conceive them. Dan just came in with some good stuff. Abundant free energy, yes, there is. That's what our the grid is for. And it was wild because Tesla was able to tap into it multiple times on multiple different experiments until he created a device that would make it a sustainable source. And then he got shut down. Let's see. Sorry. Yes. See, like, the Babylonians were of that mentality of that kind of quick to anger brother from the Anunnaki. They were constantly doing everything they could to aspire to the heights of greatness. Yet once greatness was achieved and the rest of everyone else could not obtain it, or it was almost, all right, so think of it like Einstein's theory of relativity. It took a existential thought from some other physicist for him to complete it. Now, that interaction would have never happened with the Babylonians. They would have made the theory of relativity, and with gravity, it doesn't necessarily work. And then they would have scrapped the whole table. I mean, just everything. Just burn it all because it doesn't make sense. And that's kind of where they fall. So yeah, I like what you're doing there, Dan. I mean, right. Doesn't mean to be. Yeah, the Anunnakis are still here. Like, that's also why they do the bloodline thing. I'm glad you brought that up, Gaines. So back to Stoner Chick's question with the bloodlines. They're not only looking for the Christ consciousness strain, they're also looking for the Anunnakis because, well, they were kind of in opposition to each other. Not in the way that we think good versus evil or whatever, just how they manifested their goals. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. So, yeah, I'm a little scrambled now, fellas. Somebody get me back on track. Sorry. Hey. Oh, man. Tricky, I love that question. All right, so tricky. Could the Earth be an ancient Dyson sphere, harnessing a small sun and building around it? And we are the inhabitants of the crust. Freaking love that question. Reason why I would, in a sense, totally agree. Simply because we, like how folks have talked about earlier, is mentioned alignments and looking at the sky and what we can see and how it's changing so much. Now, I'm not a super whiz on all of this either. Oh yeah, there's a hollow Earth for sure. When I look at a Dyson sphere, I really think. All right, so. All right. Sorry. Let me just kind of round out my thoughts on this because I'm about to do my best to not go on a bunch of tangents. But it would make a whole lot of sense that we are a Dyson sphere, ancient in its makings, and has come to fruition of its purpose. Also, in a sense that we are not looking up into a sky, but looking in on ourselves. Like, okay, so a little bit about like a Dyson sphere. It is think of like a rubber band ball, but hollow with a star in the center of it. And each rubber band is a functioning structure in of itself that is used to manifest the energy from that star for technological gain and function, basically. Like almost how we see the ley lines and the gravitational grid around Earth. That is a metaphysical Dyson sphere because it uses the Earth's own output to be created. So taking the theory and the hypothesis that we are actually a Dyson sphere would be absolutely awesome. I freaking love you, Tricky. That's amazing. I love it. I love it. See, this is when we have this channel, just these wild out there thoughts, because somewhere along the line they all freaking make sense. I don't yes. All right. So, and somebody else, Roma, you were picking up on it. Admiral Byrd, he got to witness that inside world. He made a whole diary of it, everything. And it is matrixy. It is wild. Like, but there's deeper layers to the whole matrix thing. Now, shoot. I don't like going on the tangent that I look to the games that we're creating, but I am going to get on this tangent. I can't think of it. It is, man, hold on. I'm going to have to look it up, y'all, because this is wild. Like, I'm so glad you brought this up, Tricky, because there's something that I found when I was just surfing through, and it was like, boom, this is what we are. And it's a new game that is coming. Gosh. One second, folks. I'm doing my best. God. I'm gonna have to. Android game. Dang it, y'all. I have no idea what it's called. Let's see. Y'all, I'm having trouble. I apologize. Bear with me, because it will make sense if I'm able to actually show it to you. Let me just see. Alright, we got, let's see. Alright. I just happened to see it the other day, and it was wild. Like, maybe Star says. Alright, just bear with me, folks. I'm still sorry. I'm sorry. This might be it. Hold on one second, folks. I apologize. I do. I'm just gonna look it up. Larsus, that might be it. Ooh, it might be that. I think it's that. I apologize, everybody. I'm doing research for you because it's so wild what I found the other day. And it's exactly what Tricky just brought Ooh, yes. Okay. All right. So. Now, I'm going to see if I can blow up some. I might actually make this my background for the channel. 1 second. Promise I'm almost done. Promise you I'm almost there. That ain't all right. Cool. See if I can pull it. All right, I got it. Sorry about that. So basically, this is exactly what Tricky's talking about. Okay. So, don't know if I can make this bigger, but all right. This is part of a ring that is of that Dyson sphere. That's what I was talking about. So what Tricky was getting at is this. We are very possibly one of these things. And that would kind of go along the lines of what and why we keep seeing different things in the sky at night. Now that is one of the rings of a Dyson sphere, an actual Dyson sphere. I'll look it up so y'all can see it real quick. That's Mars and Slate. All right. What is a Dyson sphere? All right, so to kind of give y'all a little bit of a view, I'm going to share my screen again real quick. So what a Dyson sphere would be is one of these. It is this one's a good one. So you have a star, and it is a structure that allows the energy outputted from that star to be harnessed. Now there are many of these different ones, so that's an excellent one as well. All right, so the inner lining of these stars, basically it could be an idea of what this realm is, because the output of this energy from within theoretically would be able to manifest its own ecosystem within that little bubble. And I believe that's kind of what you were getting at. And yes, what's wild is that is what the smallest molecular structures that create our world is made of. Wow, I'm so happy you brought that up, Tricky, because yeah, magnetism all itself, and man, kudos to you, bro. Kudos. Love that tangent. I know it took me a while to get there, but I'm glad y'all kind of seeing the pathways of that were opened, and I had to find it. So yes, it is very, very possible that we function much like a Dyson sphere that would attune to how our inner Earth is so much more advanced, and then how our outer Earth, where what we would be considered inhabiting, is getting there. It's almost, and Roma, I don't know if it was you or Dan, but life is universally much like fungus. Fungus is interchanged and connected much like our neural network. And just wow, yes, yes, I am dots. I am clapping over here. That's awesome. Let's see. Gotcha. Dan, cool. Appreciate it. I'm sorry about that. Like, yeah, different tangents. That was righteous. See, all right. So that's basically kind of what I woke up to this morning was, a little bit of tangents. Folks asking if occulted knowledge, ancient knowledge, all this, and it was me and Marty from the chat. We were chatting for at length on the Discord, and how we've lost the Socratic method to gainful conversation. And that took a whole tangent. And after that, it was another tangent with someone else that we discussed just the opening the doors to finding such knowledge and how it's easy to be judged when you do so, and then holding no judgments. And now we're talking about everything we've talked about. Man, all right. I hate to do this. My time for what I had planned for this video, and I ate up about 10 minutes of it just trying to find a cool picture for y'all. I apologize again. However, I am going to have to kind of cut it short. Let me see if I can. We can keep this conversation going, by the way. I'm about to hit the Discord link one more time. So if y'all would like, please hop in. And this kind of conversation happens quite often. So please join. Yeah, I'm going to leave y'all with some righteousness. Roman, did you miss it? We'll let me put it back up, and we'll make it happen one more time. So this one. All right, so we got that one. This would be the interior ring of a Dyson sphere. And like I said, this was like from a game that I saw, and that's what sent me on the tangent when Tricky said something about the Dyson sphere and we possibly being on it and living on the crust. This would be the structure of, let me find it again, this thing. So when we see this over here, this is a Dyson sphere. And that inner ring wall is what is perceived of this. And it's wild that Tricky brought it up because I was like, I know I've seen that before, just flittering through different trailers and stuff. So, man, awesome tangent. Awesome tangent. Hate to let y'all go, but yes, it will be again here soon. Sorry I've been distant and hadn't been on much. We'll get to that on probably the next episode. Today was just getting out there with different thinking and being appreciative of actually being able to do so. So try not to keep y'all too much, but let's all just remember that we can be grateful for these interactions and we can always learn from them. It's never one perspective, it's all perspectives that allow for consciousness to expand. Man, that was awesome. I'm going to be jiving off that all day. So, much love to y'all. Peace. Stay blessed. Be uplifted. And have just a fantastic day. Also, let's find something that will stress those brain muscles and we'll get up there. Saw a few folks kind of had to leave while I was on my tangent and search. I apologize. And again, much love to y'all. Stay safe, stay blessed, be uplifted.